I see AI as the best and easiest way to make money. 300 million jobs are going to be displaced. There's actually no higher risk than being in a corporate job at the moment.
Today's guest is Jordan Lee, founder of AI Acquisition and one of the most forward-thinking entrepreneurs in the online space. From dropping out of high school to building a 9-figure company, Jordan's story proves that with vision and execution, anything is possible. Let's dive in.
If you're 40 and you're not rich yet, you either been working on the wrong thing or you're just shit.
One thing all skeptics have in common, they're all poor.
Everything's going to become so efficient, there is going to be a desire back for...
The first AI system that we used to quote-unquote replace someone else was...
Bro, no one cares about your idea. Jeff Bezos' idea was a bookstore. That's not a big idea, it's the execution.
I was a broken man. I've never really talked about that publicly, but fantastic, man. Thanks for coming, by the way.
Pleasure. Welcome to Dubai.
Dude, it's epic. I didn't like it before. Then I was there once. It was okay. And now that I meet people like you and like so many other entrepreneurs, and just the convenience of it, you order everything to your house. You don't have to leave the house. There's gyms everywhere. Like for me, that's perfect.
It's built for successful people.
Exactly, exactly. The only thing that I think I couldn't do long term is like, you're always missing out on something. So for example, when I'm somewhere else in Cyprus, for example, there's not many other people there, unless you're in Limassol. So I can just grind, focus on my thing, get my routine in. But here, I'm like, I've been here for like 5 days, and like people are like, yo, there's a yacht party, yo, there's like a network dinner. And I'm like, I couldn't even grind it out here because I would constantly be missing out on like networking opportunities and stuff like that. Is that something you get used to?
I just say no.
Okay.
I moved my full team out here, so I went to one dinner a month ago. Majority were multi-7-figure, most were 8-figure entrepreneurs.
Sick.
Like, we've never seen you out. I was like, I don't go out, I've been working. And most of my value is done from my team. So I move like 6 team members out there, girlfriends, wives and stuff like that. So most of them just come around to mine a couple of times per week and we get deep work done then.
What's your team, the positions that are inherited by humans versus how many employees has AI already replaced in your company?
Now the only people who we hire are salespeople and consultants and creative people. And salespeople will probably be replaced within the next 6 to 12 months.
I was going to ask you that too.
Our costs are 70% variable. So all we really need is consultants to now implement the AI and consult. Where we used to have to hire SDRs, project managers, all of those are completely gone now. And that's been over a very short period of time.
Do you have a what if calculation, like this is what my profit margin would look like if I had like a classic human structure versus what it looks like now?
It's very interesting because there's two ways which I look at AI. One is effectiveness, then it's efficiency. So I always look at effectiveness first within our business, even if I'm looking at it from a human perspective. So I'm like, let's be good at this thing, then let's optimize it. And I think that's served how we operate at each stage of the journey because you focus on the highest leverage things. And when I look at the richest people in the world, who are the best people? The people who create the most leverage for themselves. So I look at the effectiveness first, like how do we do this the best, then how do we optimize it and make it more efficient? So and the lifespan of our business has been at the start heavily like done for you personalization, white glove approach, to now a much more productized approach with AI, but you learn how to do the thing by doing the white glove, then make it more and more efficient. And I look at 3 things within our business now. It's people, processes, and management. So is this a people problem? Is it a process problem, AI, or is it just a management problem? And it's normally 2 or 3, sometimes it's all of them, but it's normally heavily on one of those things. So I look for like, how do I remove the bottleneck, then make it more efficient with those things. And that's how I manage the business in a super simple way.
So do you know what the profitability would be if we hadn't had all these AI systems implemented?
I don't think we'd be able to run our business.
Wow, at all?
Yeah, I don't think we could run it, truthfully. Or we just hate it. Yeah, because the humans just have so many problems, you'd just be stuck in the day-to-day. So I don't manage our business at all now. I've appointed a CEO, he does everything, I meet with him once per week, he reports on everything, he leads the sales team, we have a head of delivery. But even most people who, you've interviewed some of the best people from the industry, we've headhunted people from all over the place with 10 years plus of experience. Most of them are not good. Because if you understand, like if you're 40 and you're not rich yet, you either have been working on the wrong thing or you're just shit. That's the reality. All of my best team members are in their 20s. All of the 18 players are in their 20s. Because when they're 30, 40, 50, they're not working for me. They're going to be multi-millionaires, if not billionaires.
That's a very interesting point you brought up there, that it's like the more you dig into the industry, the more you realize that like nobody's as good as they look or as good as they claim. And a lot of times it's exactly like you said, like I've had people, for example, apply with us. They're like, oh, I used to be the COO of XYZ competitors and said 8 figures. And at first I was like, oh my God, super excited. This guy wants to work with us. Let's go hire him just based on that. And then my CMO, Robin Bauman, he's always the cynic within us. So it's kind of cool because him and I, we complete each other with that. I'm like the ideas guy, let's go. And he's like, yo, let's wait.
Yeah.
So he's like,
you need that. You need the abundance than the like, reality. You're going to pull him out of his comfort zone and he's going to make sure the business keeps operating.
Exactly. So he's like, okay, well, let's have a look. Like, if he's so good, then why doesn't he work there anymore, you know? And that was just one example. I've seen this over and over and over and over again, that a lot of business, there's basically 2 ways to be really successful in business, in my opinion. It's one, you really, 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 really know your shit and you really make it work. Or B, you're kind of lucky with the right offer, the right brand, the right organic reach at the right time. And the funny thing is, I've been through exactly both. I've told you earlier off camera as well. My first business was just pure organic, the dating advice business for men. I had no clue what the hell I was doing. I was just making videos, being myself, running around having a good time. And that authenticity just struck a chord with a lot of people. I was there at the right time, the right moment. These exact same videos, if I published them right now, they wouldn't get that reach. And without that reach, I wouldn't be making that money. Yeah. And I had a sales team there. I hired a sales team of just like guys like me, like 21-year-olds. And man, we had offices in Kiev. You would go in there, there would just be a wall of smoke. They would sit there without a shirt, with their bare feet up on the table, smoking, like, yeah, why don't you buy? You know, like just no clue about real objection handling. We still made $500K a month. And back then I'm like, that's because I'm so good, right? I really got it figured out. And then I either had the opportunity to just retire and be like, okay, I made a couple million now, you know, like if I live below my means, like I could stay like that for many, many years. Or I figure out cold traffic with a completely different business just to kind of show it's not a one-off. And stupid, naive me, I'm like, I'll do that, because it's probably going to take me like 2 or 3 months and then I'll figure it out. It took me like 2 or 3 years to really figure out cold traffic with the new offer, which was the business consulting, which is kind of what I'm doing right now. And what I realized there was like, okay, I didn't know anything. I was just lucky to a degree. Okay, because a lot of people are like, oh, so it is just luck. I still had some skills, but just not even as closely as much skills as I should have had at that level. It was just being there at the right time with a sexy enough offer. I was one of the first people in the dating niche that offered a high ticket online mentoring. All there was before was low ticket, couple $100 video course, or high ticket in-person training where you would be like in a city for a weekend. And I was the first one who was like, well, let's make it like an 8 to 12 week program, which everybody has now. But back then in 2018-ish, nobody had that in my field. And then when we figured out cold traffic, you know, our closers would sit there with their shirt open, like, why don't you buy? Like, why would we let you buy from us? And the person's like, I just clicked on an ad. I have no idea who the fuck you are. I guess I'm not gonna buy. Bye. And they're like, oh shit, that doesn't work for someone that is not a fanboy. Yeah. So the entire team.
So this is interesting. When I go back to process, so the process is broken there. Yeah. You still had the right people, but the process is now different because you changed what you were doing. Mm-hmm. So this is where I'm like, if you just look at business, to each level that you need to get to, there's a constraint, and it's normally one of those things. So it's like when you figure out, okay, this sales process needs to change, let's fix that, then the business jumps the level.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I had to do. And then to be honest, the people weren't the right ones either. Yeah. Because turns out these guys were like, oh, this sucks. Like now I have to fight for every close. I have to do follow-up. I can't just yell at someone. This sucks. So they all either left or fell behind KPIs once we implemented KPIs, and then they had to be fired. So I learned it very much the hard way. Yeah. So I think.
And then with sales teams, last point, if you don't manage a sales team hard, they're going to be terrible. Yeah. You can put the best closers together. If they're not managed well, a sales team, that's one of the hardest parts about scaling a high-ticket business, managing a sales team. And it's very hard to find a very good sales manager. It's probably one of the hardest roles to fill. Mm-hmm. So if you can't solve those problems, you can't scale the business unless you do, like you mentioned, a low ticket or have a huge personal brand.
Have you ever thought about at least outsourcing part of the sales management, for example, quality control, to an AI?
Yeah, so we use a lot of, one of our AI tools that we've built internally is a sales call analyzer, which we can track compliance to the script, tonality. We basically have all of the main metrics, and it tracks every single sales call. It posts it then directly into the Slack channel on what they did wrong, what they did right, where they need to improve on, and how to follow up. So we're using that now. The sales team love it as well because it gives that, it's like a personal mentor, but we have to keep optimizing that with good human interaction because the machine learning is just not there yet with AI, so it can't self-improve itself well enough yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's completely optimized the whole process.
That is so, bro, we built exactly the same. It's so cool that you and I had the same fucking idea.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. It's just like because we were like, okay, like how can we make it do quality control? Well, first, it needs to look at the transcript of the Zoom call.
Yeah.
Second of all, it needs to cross-reference that with certain criteria of like how well was the program pitched, how well was the person put in the buying pocket, how well was XYZ, and then it rates it. So that's kind of like version 1 to just be like, hey, by the way, Braden, that last call of yours only scored a whatever 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
Go look at that. And then the second version is it doesn't only rate that, but the AI has direct access to transcripts of our internal training for sales staff. Our internal training is really, really comprehensive. It's like hundreds of videos. So it then cross-references that and is like, oh, the tonality was off. Here's the tonality training. Here's the feedback personalized to that guy.
So if you look at Gong, which is a very successful software business, they are a sales enablement software and pipeline tracking. So with the implementation that they've implemented in the business, and you're talking a $7 or $8 billion business, they are one of the industry leaders, and they are there because one, they have big corporates, they have recurring revenue, but they also have the AI implemented in, so they get the crazy multiples, which is, I believe, is the end goal for real business owners. Because if you look at I'm from a very corporate/professional background in comparison to most people who make money online, right? I won't give the whole, I left school at 16 working in a factory and stuff like that story, but like I don't have a high school degree. I'm not a technical person.
Not even high school degree?
Not even high school. I left school at 16 working in a factory. I didn't want to put financial pressure on my parents. I wanted to make money.
Wow.
And where I'm from, not that many people have them. It's like, oh, you go get a job. The richest person who I knew growing up was making 40 grand a year. Like he had a personal registration plate on his like Peugeot car, and we were like, man, that's amazing.
Shit.
And when I started working in the professional sector, like I got to the 6-figure salary, beautiful apartment in London, Maserati, like I had made it, right? But I was actually trapped. I was working in a job and I was limited. So no matter how much more effort I put in, I couldn't break through the level of the next chapter. And one of my friends, he built a recruitment agency, he was making money online, and I stayed over at his. I went back up to Newcastle, and we played chess in the night, conversation as usual. And he was like making money as we were playing chess. I was like, this is crazy. He's like, this guy's making my more than my monthly salary when we've been playing this game, and he's not even working. So do you know when I was like, I'm working harder, I know this guy, I'm beating him in chess sometimes, like we're equal, but he knows something that I don't. Woke up the next morning, he strolls downstairs like 9:30, 10 with a coffee, and he's like, oh, what you been doing? I was like, I've been on like 3 hours conference calls. And he laughed, right? He laughed like that. I was like, this motherfucker. But he was like, I remember those days, because he was from a corporate background as well. And I was like, man, this guy's figured out something that I haven't. And he'd figured out leverage with technology, but also owning assets. And when we discuss AI and the benefits of it, if you look at the companies like Cursor, fastest growing company in history. If you look at Wiz, which is only 5 years old, they've just been bought out by Google for $32 billion, which means every single day they added $16 million of enterprise value. So I'm concerning myself of, oh, can I make 1.5 million, 2 million a month, like that's just cash flow. And the cash flow is good, so you can travel the world, buy nice things, look after your family. hire good team members, build a brand. Cash flow is needed. It's number one, right? It's necessity. But the wealth is created from owning the assets and enterprise value. And that is my biggest interest when it comes down to AI, because the scalability and the enterprise value is so enormous, and there is people putting it together. But even just a small example, right? Our business now will probably make $2 million this month, right? One of our clients makes $2 million a year. They got invested in by Y Combinator at a $60 million valuation. And we're making that per month. So when you think about, okay, what's our valuation?
Shit, yeah.
And I've been meeting with some private equity guys recently to discuss the next chapter. But I think when you're entering into this space, when you start to understand the multiples and the valuations of these businesses and the amount of free cash flow you can make whilst doing it, it's the biggest wealth transfer in history, because there's a real revolution. 300 million people, 300 million jobs are going to be displaced. Like, that's massive. Like, someone's making multiple billions from that. And this is why these big companies are investing big in it. If you look at Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they've never made investments like this ever. It's unprecedented. So it's like, okay, well, if the big boys are doing it, and we spoke about personal brand, because there's a lot about personal branding at the moment, which I think there is value of it. But in my opinion, for personal brand, you should do something valuable, then talk about that, because that's what, like, I don't believe that you should build a personal brand if you don't have any value to bring. I think it makes sense to build some competencies in yourself and then share that value for others. I just wouldn't feel comfortable doing it. I spent 10 years in business before I started talking about anything to do with business. I know you don't have to wait that long, but it definitely made my stuff more valuable. But yeah, I think the enterprise value opportunity, because that's real business. And I think it's so easy when you get into the make money online to just get caught up with, oh, I need to make this amount of cash flow to keep up. It needs to be this high profit margin, and it's not right. But actually, the real wealth is created by owning assets.
How do you push, because you mentioned a lot the enterprise value, pushing that up. What are like some sort of bullet points, apart from cash flow, profitability, systemization? Are there any additional ones that one should really, really work on?
Yeah, high growth in terms of revenue is very important, because they want to see a high growth business, whether it is private equity, whether it's venture capital. They want to see high growth. So high growth is definitely needed. Profitability is not as important at the beginning, but you do need a high profitability model to be able to reinvest. So you shouldn't aim to build something that's not profitable. You should just aim to take that capital and reinvest it back into growth, which most people don't do, because they try to keep up with the lifestyle, buy Lamborghinis and stuff like that. And then I have no money to hire a team. It's like, yeah, but you have a Lamborghini, bro. You do have money, you're just spending it on the wrong thing. So in addition to that, you've got scalability, so a productized approach. If you have, and then it's recurring revenue, of course. And if you have big corporate or company brands on there as well, all those things are going to be a huge benefit when you're looking to either raise capital or sell. And a lot of the deals are part capital and part equity. If you look at someone who a lot of internet marketers know, if that's your main audience, Alex Becker is a perfect example of that. Like, he built Hyros, he made the money from Info, built a SaaS with that money, he built it, and he sold part of it for over 9 figures. 50% of it, he made 110, 120 million.
Shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then he still owns 49%. So when the business sells again, he's going to get a second bite of the cherry. No one in, like, most people in Info never get to that stage because they're not investing in building assets.
What do you think? Because I thought a lot about that. I meet a lot of guys that there's like kind of two fields. One is like build my personal brand up as much as possible. Everything should depend on me, because obviously I don't want anybody to run with my idea or replicate what I'm doing. And then the other camp is people that say, oh, I'm just here to sell this thing. Like, I want to fucking sell this. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Now, I actually think in the next years, these two camps will converge, because, for example, I could potentially, and I would love to hear your thoughts, sell my personal brand or my business that owns my personal brand on top of that, because you could just replicate all my videos, look like me, sound like me with AI. Do you think that's a thing that's going to become a reality?
I think if you I like to study the people who've done it, right? Like what's happened before, because history repeats. And if we look at the richest people in the world, they own a small part of a bigger pie. I don't think it's easy to replicate. Ideas are cheaper by the dozen. Everyone's got ideas, right? ChatGPT's got ideas. When someone says, "Oh, well, you're signing an idea, I've got an idea," I'm like, bro, no one cares about your idea. Like, Jeff Bezos' idea was a bookstore. Like, that's not a big idea. It's the execution. So I always fall in the second camp of, okay, how do we execute on what this big goal is, and how do we keep increasing the goal? But I do think back to the more specific question. So I would sit in the second camp of, I'm not scared about anyone taking my ideas. I will share as openly as possible about what I'm doing and why, because I think that attracts more of the right people. The 18 players in my business could earn, and one of them earned like 70K last month, right? So I'm not paying people peanuts in terms of the top performers, but he could probably make more money himself. He needs to be attracted by the vision of which we're growing. And it's something that Jeff Bezos talks about, is if you want really high quality people in your business, you need to create the space for them to grow into. And when it comes down to personal branding, I think that's a element that can attract high quality people because people buy in to you. But yes, it'll be similar to Disney and licensing. People will be able to license and buy you, because it's exactly the same as how did Disney make so much money when they were going bankrupt. They had all of these stories,
IPs,
IP that they hadn't utilized in the modern day form. So yes, because you're creative, because you're creating IP, you're going to own that IP, you're going to be able to license that into different industries better. So yeah, there's going to be a lot for that, but it comes back down to the fundamentals of business. Are you building something valuable in the first place? Because if you're not building something valuable in the first place, why would someone want to license it?
I love the example of Disney, because they took the IP that was really valuable, they added a bunch of woke shit and ran it into the ground.
But made a ton of money in the meantime. And this is the thing, if you think, I had a very negative connotation towards make money online because I thought it was scammy, and some of it is, but a lot of it's not, right? That was a limiting belief on my side. But if you look at banks, right, like Wells Fargo, one of the biggest, fraud schemes, they were fined 500 million for that, around about. But in that quarter, they made 5 billion profit. So it's like us getting a parking ticket. It's like
paying for ads. You really have to pay for it.
It's just the cost of doing business.
It's the same with Big Pharma, by the way.
Yeah.
They just calculate the penalties. They're like, oh yeah, we'll just do this. We'll knock it out. We'll make a couple billion. And then we have to pay this penalty. It's just it just calculated into the profit margins.
Yeah, but if you look at all these businesses, they are just, and when you go public, they just become obsessed with the shareholder value, because that's where the real wealth is created.
I'd love to get back to the sales reps real quick. You mentioned it earlier, but let's just go into detail there one more time. In your opinion, when will AI replace sales reps, closers, and setters specifically?
So I separate sales into two categories. One is more relationship development. That was my background. I've never done what people in the industry class as high ticket sales. For me, that's still low ticket. Anything below 100K for me was low ticket from where I'm from, because it was all enterprise deals. I worked on the project for the census, UK Census Office for National Statistics. The US United Rentals were one of our clients. The Adecco Group, Microsoft, Jaguar Land Rover. So these projects were very relationship based. They had to really trust. We had to go through multiple layers of a sign off, relationship basis, phase 1, phase 2. That's not going to be replaced by AI, but AI is going to be able to enhance a person's job in this, right? And if you look at private equity deals, I have a few friends who are actually a lot older, they're like 50, 60, who are in the private equity space. They are utilizing AI to replace analysts already. And even small private equity companies have to spend a lot on analysts. Analysts are being paid 70 to 90K per year, more in the US, right? And that can be completely replaced now with AI by taking the data rooms and just plugging it in to AI, right? So I think it's going to replace the lower level first. The higher level salespeople will make more money. But the lower, like the setters, the SDRs, they're gone, right? Like we've built an SDR that's replacing like most of the SDRs. There's still some calls. There's still some voice to calls, which is not quite there yet. But the agents between all of the other things is replaced. So it's just going to be gradually replacing the lower level people, and that's going to be the same across customer success, everything, right? My mum, she runs a customer support office, and all of her staff are cooked, right? They're gone. She's like, she showed me what they do. I was like, this is so bad, because they're such, the low level, the team members, they're brought in a very basic entry, they're not trained well, the processes are terrible, like everything like all of them are just replaced. So I would say the higher level people, it's going to be a little while longer, but I would say 3 to 6 months and then there's business adoption as well. So it's when will the tech become available, then when will the tech be used widespread? Because in these big organizations like Amazon and Microsoft, a lot of them use legacy and outdated tech, and not specifically them, but let's call them tier 2 clients, because the cost to change software is in the multiple of millions. So sometimes we know it's inefficient, but the cost is just so high to change. So when that implementation becomes easier, it's just going to wipe people out. But I would say within the next 12 months, based on the high ticket coaching info agency space, I think most of that's gone. And you're probably going to have a couple of higher level people, because things like video sales letters, automated webinars, all of the questions and answers, the AI version of you, all that's going to be available, so they can come on and feel like they're speaking to you, or just text and speak to you directly. Would they rather speak to you or one of your sales reps? They're going to want to speak to you. So I think the next 12 months you're going to see massive disruption, especially for the lower level team members.
I agree. It's funny because I have the first AI system that we used to quote unquote replace someone else was DM appointment setting AI. And it was actually funny because my head DM appointment setter built it himself. So he saw the writing on the wall. He's like, they're gonna fucking replace this at some point. So I'll build it myself. And he approached me, he's like, hey, I got this AI, you wanna test it? And I'm like, no, I'm busy. It's probably some bot bullshit that just, and he's like, bro, test it. Here's the account. And I DM'd with it. I'm like, right, it's exactly like me. Holy fuck. So we implemented it on the Max Tornow business Instagram account. And on that account, it instantly got like 20 to 30% more calls booked. And it works 24/7, isn't tired, right? Like, isn't burned out.
Commission checks.
Doesn't ask for time off, doesn't get sick, isn't performing less when the girlfriend breaks up with them, all this stuff. And the crazy thing is, then we made it better and better and better, to a point where now it works in all languages. So, because some people know I speak German, so they're like, oh, if it's you, Max, let's speak German. The guy's like, no, kein Problem, bro. It's fucking amazing. Then what it also does is send selfies of me with your first name, right? So it's like, hey, Jordan, you haven't replied yet. What's up? And it also can listen to voice messages because it just transcribes them. So that's really eerie. And then the second thing we just started working on, so the MVP version of that goes live this week, is an outbound phone call setter AI. We're getting so many opt-ins for phone calls, we don't have enough staff, and hiring really good staff, as you know, it takes a while to find really good people. You don't just want to like settle for shittier reps. So we're like, okay.
Because it affects your brand.
Of course.
That's the thing. There is other knock-on effects of not doing things properly, which you can't quantify, but it's there.
And that's exactly what it is. Dude, we had one last week or 2 weeks ago where a lady bought one of my low ticket products for like $49. And she booked a call because like in the low ticket program, we have like, hey, book a free consulting call, free strategy call. And then she talked to one of my reps, and he was actually one of our best reps, but he said he'd send her some resources, but it just slipped his mind. We have it on the checklist. For some reason, he ended up didn't send her the resources, and she wasn't even qualified. right? That she was like from a third world country, wasn't qualified, but she left us a 1-star review that's just on there forever, calling us a scam because my rep forgot to send her free resources.
Yeah.
So it's exactly what you say. It's like they represent your company, and human errors just happen. So we have this outbound phone setting AI, and I've tested it, and I'm like, holy fuck! It's like a perfectly trained setup because it just speaks directly to the internal training transcript, so it knows every little scenario.
Yeah.
So when the person says, oh, I don't have time right now, it's like, oh, don't have time, this is the objection, speak that, put them in the buying power, qualify them, closer, and then it looks at the calendar availability to see what closer has time, so then mentions that closer by name and hypes them up. Yeah. And so in my opinion, I think, just like you said, it will take 6 to 12 months for sales reps to be replaced. Not for ours, at least not the best ones, because our team is insanely epic, the team meetings are so great, and they're all doing a sick job. And like you said, the nurturing, the building relationships, the following up, I don't think you can quite replace that yet.
No, that's going to be a while, if not ever, because there will have to be some level of regulation, and it depends when people are watching this as well. It's not like AI is going to grow linear. Like anything that has this level of adoption it's going to compound, right? There's going to be a hockey stick movement on this. But there will be a level of regulation put in it being like, this is AI, like this is a regular human. So I think everything's going to become so efficient, there is going to be a desire back for human connection within the journey, but that connection is just going to be so much better because you're not focused on all the little shit like sending stuff over and are they going to show up for the call and all these things. But imagine trying to run your business without software. That you just couldn't do it, and that's what AI is going to be like in a year. That's why I'm saying it's so hard to quantify, because from Instantly AI, one of the founders is out here, he's a friend of mine. Like they're worth a significant market value now. We've been using their product since we started, they started, they've been great partners of ours, and they've had a huge amount of success. We've implemented with all of our clients, and I couldn't imagine us running our business without even that one bit of software. I couldn't imagine us running our ads without Hyros, because it's just become so inefficient. SDRs, imagine not having sales development reps following up after you run ads. It's just so much less money. And with the cost of Facebook going up, Google going up, the cost to create content going up because it has to be so much better than what's already been there, you need ways to make things more effective or you're out of business. It's not like, oh, this is a nice to have anymore, this is a have to have.
It's crazy because like it used to be so easy, and if you look back at like the golden times where you just make a random video where you ramble for 3 minutes without like a perfect hook, which still get thousands of views. And nowadays, like there's just such a content inflation. And you know, I'm particularly part of that too with some of my offers where we teach people how to create content, especially with AI, it's just becoming really easy. But that will at some point dip. Right, so I think right now, not many people talk about content creation with AI. We think a lot of people talk about it because we're in our ecosphere, right? We're in a bubble. But like my grandma or my mom doesn't know about it. And eventually that will latch on. But at some point, I think there will be some sort of content inflation happening. And then it will go kind of back to the roots to like almost no editing, just really honest, down to earth person. Streaming, for example.
Live stuff will be very attractive.
Podcast, same spiel here. Anything ultra long form that's just interesting. And I've had both ChatGPT and Grok on the podcast, and just done like a long form thing. But they suck. They're really boring. Like it was a 1.5 hour struggle, like having them say something interesting.
There's and look, we all have our own unique human experiences, and I think like that's what makes us human. We have emotions, and if you look at the deepest conversations, and I know we've been fairly tactical so far, but it's emotions that move people. Like we feel, then we think and act, right? And we can think, but then we feel before we act. So like so much of what we do is based on how we feel. And you know sales, you know if people can buy into the emotion, you need to move them emotionally to take action in all sales. Like it's the pain. And this is something that I did in another retreat actually recently, and I was reflecting on this whole...
A meditation retreat, that is?
I've done 2 meditation retreats, and one one was a mindfulness, one was a Ayurvedic, and this one was just my wife's family were over, so I was like, I'm just going to escape for a little bit. The first two I had life-changing experiences in both of them. The most recent one, it was a little bit more practical. I wanted to go and just think about the business in more detail. But I was reflecting on the pain and pleasure, right? And because everyone says, as humans, we try to get out of pain and we seek pleasure. And I was kind of reflecting on it from my journey and my perspective. Is that true? And like, how true is it? And what does that mean? Because I think we make assumptions of like, oh, we just kind of agree because it's been said before and everyone says it, so it's true. But I recognized in me, when I feel shit, when I'm misaligned, when I'm angry, where like it's the end of the emotion of like just feeling bad, misaligned, I'm tired, I'm angry, some stress is happening at work, right? This was interesting because in May, it was the first time I made 100K within a day, right? It was the 31st of May. So I was like, oh man, this is a great milestone. Family had just been over. We were celebrating around the house. It was just super communal. All the team were over. We're exactly where we meant to be. 1st of June, our ads exploded, blew up, right? Down to zero.
Oh, in a bad way.
In a bad way, yeah. Exploded in a negative way, right? And there was some Facebook updates where you just basically couldn't click through to the ad. So we went from booking at the time 25, 30 calls per day down to zero, which was huge. And at the time, I think we were spending about 6,000 to 8,000 a day.
What's your average order value?
Now we have 3, but at the time, let's just say about 10K.
Okay.
Yeah, it was about 10K, 10 to 15K would have been the order value, and that was painful because as a business we're still relying on front-end revenue for growth and cash within the business. Even though we have a lot of recurring revenue, front-end revenue is still very important to us. So we battled through that month. It was a horrible month. Jacob and I met in the Royal Atlantis towards the end of the month, and we were like two crack addicts sitting there almost shaking, right? After every high, there's a low.
Yeah, highest highs, lowest lows. And
we come out the other end of it, and we dropped down to 400K per month, but we were projecting 700-800K. So it was, and we kicked and screamed through the month. It wasn't like 400K and we breezed and we didn't do much work and we're on the golf course. No, it was really hard to get there. And I think that like in that like journey of that challenging month, there's so much growth within there, as well as the successful months. Like that was a really,
arguably even more so.
Yeah, for sure, from a growth perspective, and you're like forced to innovate. During those periods as well.
That's the beauty about entrepreneurship. It's just such a great example, from the highest highs to the lowest lows. And some people, even if they've been in business for years, they expect it to just be linear and it's just get better and better. And then they have a shit month like that, something that's completely out of your control. And all of a sudden you go from the highest high to the lowest low. They can't deal with that.
Yeah.
And it's been exactly the same with me from the aforementioned example, right? I'm like, oh, I could retire, let me do cold trap, it's gonna be a breeze, and then, oh my God, not at all. Now every lead costs money, it's not free anymore. Now team sucks, I gotta restructure everything, not just the marketing, but the offer, the ads, the sales team. And I was miserable. I was utterly miserable. I was a broken man. It's so funny. I've never really talked about that publicly, but I felt like less of a man.
Yeah.
I felt like my manhood was taken away. I'm like, I thought I was smart. I thought I'm the money maker. Let's go. No, I'm just some fucking moron.
So this
can't even make money.
So this is it. So during that time, I was in a lot of pain, right? Drinking more coffees, not sleeping as well, looking at Slack more, all of these things. And during that time, I started to get more desires, right? More desires to drink more coffee, turn on the TV, addicted to Slack. Yeah, distraction, soothers, right? But when I'm in good flow, I don't have any desires.
Yeah.
So I was like, actually, it's not trying to get out of pain and want more pleasure. And because when you're good, you actually don't want more pleasure. Yeah. When you're in your best space, if you're around your girlfriend, your family, and you're at a great meal, you're not thinking, oh, let me go on this gambling app, or let me watch porn, or whatever your thing is, right? You're not thinking that because you're in such good flow. It's when you're in such pain, that's when the pleasure comes in. So I was like, actually, if I want to be the highest version of me, I need to continually be in a good energetic flow, because I'm not going to want the desires. And I think that was such a big realization, where I'm like, it's not about the avoidance of pain and into pleasure. It's actually about being in really good flow with yourself, because when you are there, you actually don't want the pleasure. And like I've never studied the dating game or anything like that, but I can imagine a lot of people in that space suffer from low self-esteem,
100%.
insecurity, not having confidence, maybe do go towards things like the addictive things around porn or whatever the thing is. But if you put that same individual in a really good energetic space, give them confidence, give them self-esteem and all those things, they would think probably watching porn, well, why would I watch porn? I'm so happy anyways. I just actually don't want to do that.
There's a great book on that called Frederick Dodson, Levels of Energy. It's a little woo-woo, but it's really, really good. And he gives energy levels numbers. Yeah. And he basically says, anger is energy level, whatever, 200. And then one stage above anger is, I forgot, whatever, motivation.
Yeah, the levels of consciousness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned that. So you got into this pit of the business isn't performing well, so you need to distract yourself with low quality habits, with cheap dopamine habits. Distract yourself here, substances, even if it's just coffee. Right? Coffee is actually a pretty bad substance if you really dig deeper into that, to a degree.
Yeah, it's use and abuse, right?
Yeah, exactly.
People can play PlayStation games. I don't play PlayStation games. I don't do any of that stuff. But I love coffee, right? When I become obsessive, and I recognize this when I was in my corporate job, right, and everything looked good on paper, but I recognized I didn't have that control, and I met who's now my wife, my girlfriend. We met in London. She had just won Miss Universe Kenya. Right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, she was brought over to London with a modeling agency, literally just landed, met her, and she was a catalyst for me to change. I met her and I was like, I actually want to make more money now because I want to build a family, right? So there was actually a need. And I was like, okay, I think I'm going to set up this business by myself. And she was like, women in general are more risk averse than men, right? They appreciate security over conquering. We want to conquer, right? We understand that there's risk, but we don't care, right? So she was like, don't set up the business, just keep doing what you're doing. We've got shares in the business. You'll. So I was high earner, but not rich yet, right? Yeah. But I wanted the freedom to be rich, to get to that next level. And I made 100K the wrong way, and I made now multiple 8 figures the right way, right? Because I was selling the time for money. I was trapped no matter how hard that I worked. I literally I wasn't in control of the destiny. But it seemed like this big thing in terms of setting up the business, because at the time I was running an ed tech business. I was a managing director. I'd worked my way up from a sales guy to the managing director, and I was thinking, man, if I try to do this whole edtech business, I need to understand more about technology, I need to understand more about finance. It's putting all these blockers, right? I don't have time to do that because I'm still working the job. So like, insert reason why you can't do something, right? Insert excuse. But then I recognize, okay, if one client is paying me, let's just even say it's 60K per year, right? So one employer is paying you 5K per month. Well, why wouldn't one other employer do it? You could get another job somewhere, couldn't you? Yes. So why not just sell that service as like a contracting to one business, then sell it to another one? And that's what I did. I just sold my contracting services to one. That was a bridge. I replaced my income, then sold it to another one, doubled my income, sold it to another one, trebled my income within the space of 3 months. And then I was like, okay, well, if I want to take this to the next level, I actually don't really understand the tech, and I don't want to learn it. I don't want to be sitting in front of an ads manager. I didn't want to be doing Zapier. It was Zapier at the time. I don't want to learn those things. I want to hire someone to do it. I met Jacob, a business partner, in a coaching community, and that good people change the direction of your life overall, right? My wife changed the direction of my life. Jacob changed the direction of my life. Those are the people who change, change the direction of your life. Our third team member, Blaze, who's our CTO now, he he's revolutionized the business because at each stage he's just been implementing the tech, but he's also been understanding the business as well. So he sits as like CTO to bridge our developers to implementation for the actual business. And I think the massive misconception is when starting your own business, I thought that I needed to have all these things figured out. I needed to be good at finance tech. You actually don't need any of that. You just need to get started. And if you look at some of the businesses that we talk about, like Wiz, they didn't start out at a $32 billion valuation.
Yeah.
They grew into that a step at a time by executing. So the real thing, and goes back to what you said right at the first part of the podcast, the boat that you're in is much more important than how hard you row. Because if you do have the right offer, something that's topical, AI, personal brand, whatever the big growth is, and this is where Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, mentioned it. He was like, it's stupid how people think about total addressable market in their capital raises. He was like, you don't want to be thinking about that. You want to be thinking about which market is going to grow exponentially and be in that market, because then you're going to naturally just grow with the market. So that's where I'm like, okay, well, whether it would be AI or construction, if I saw that the opportunity wasn't, and I know there's multiple billionaires in construction as well, but it takes a huge amount of capital to really get to that level, where AI, it's a lot of it's plug and play. And whether it be AI or construction, I don't care. I see AI as the best and easiest way to make money in 2025, probably 2026 and 2027. And those who fail to adapt and move are going to be on the wrong side of the line, being like, why didn't I listen? Like, I missed internet, I missed crypto, and now I've missed AI. And it's like with crypto, there's good upside. A lot of people like lose a lot of money as well.
Yeah.
That's not really spoke about too much. But with AI, because there's a high intrinsic value and use case, you're actually creating value from day one, which I think gives it the sustainability and the adoption. So if you are a professional person, let's take you now, all of the skills that you have, like what you've done with your sales team, that's an offer. It doesn't have to be all AI from the start. It can be part AI and part consulting, part done for you services. So I think there's never been an easier or a better time to set up your own business, and you just become happier. Like, no one's happy working in corporates and banks. Like, I lived in London for many years. We lived in Canary Wharf, which is bank and capital, amazing apartments, but you see them, they're all in their suits, just miserable. And in my last business, we raised some capital, so I spent a lot of time with bankers, private equity guys, and they're trained in the banks just to be miserable and negative. And I think, even if you're making, my ex-girlfriend, I was at a wedding. It was his wedding, right? My ex-girlfriend's sister was getting married to a banker. He was a mergers and acquisitions director at Deutsche Bank.
Nice.
So multi-millionaire, right? On his wedding day morning, he's still working.
Oh.
And I'm like, this guy, he's a beautiful wedding. You're talking multi-six-figure wedding in Tuscany, beautiful. And he's stressed. And I was like, fuck this.
Can't even be in the moment, man.
A lot of people slag poor people and don't be broke and stuff like that. But I'm more like, well, I think you're still trapped. You're still a chicken, whether you're in a high rise or you clean the floor. Like if you're cleaning the floor, you're doing something valuable to society. Not saying people in the high rise aren't doing things valuable for society, but if you have the skill to be in the high rise, it's so fucking easy for you to make money. You already have all the skill set, just need to apply it to your own thing. So I think you're going to see a massive migration, like you mentioned, in terms of more people doing personal brand. I think you're going to see more and more business owners starting now in these next 12 to 36 months.
If you had to break it down into steps, 3 to 5 steps or whatever, how to make money with AI in 60 seconds? If someone starts right now from scratch, what will be your advice?
Audit what you currently do and what you're good at. If you're good at nothing and you don't do anything, what's your interest? Then I would look at who can I sell to and what problem do they have? I would then sell a solution to that problem delivered over 3 months and use AI to do it. And I would sell that for anywhere between $10,000 to $30,000, which would give you enough money to probably replace most people's salaries when you take tax into consideration.
Boom. I fucking love it. It's that simple. You mentioned earlier a little bit. We touched on your story a little bit.
Yeah.
If you had to break it down to one thing, what's the one thing that got you from factory worker to multimillionaire?
Mindset. It's cliche, but it's true. Every single successful person who I know has a positive, abundant, and driven mindset. And yeah, they might be negative around other things and not kind and not nice, but they have a mindset of tenacity, growth, ambition, and every single person who I know who, a lot of my family would be on, like benefits and low income jobs and stuff like that. And like I said, where I grew up, the success was getting a job for 20 to 40k. I'm from a poor town called Gateshead in the northeast of England. The houses are super cheap, everything's pretty cheap, right? And the sentiment there is just so negative, right? And when you come to Dubai, everyone's kind, everyone wants to connect, everyone will help you out. There's no crime, everyone wants to do things for you. And when you go into places like the UK is on a massive decline at the moment, the mindset is so fucking negative. It hurts me. I went back to London during summer. I was like, just get me out here. I hated it. I left early and we were staying in West London in a beautiful place, but around it you can just see and feel the negativity. So I think if you need to be in that growth mindset. You just need to be in it. Even if you don't have the thing yet, if you believe that you can do it. And my first year of business, my goal was not multiple millions. When I left, I was like, if I make 200 grand in my first year, that's happy.
I'd be happy, yeah.
I was in Costa, I was writing it down on my little notepad, right? I sent it to my girlfriend at the time, my wife now. I was like, babe, this is what I want to achieve this year. And by the end of that year, we were making 200k per month. So I think, sometimes when you can't even see it. Like if it was a very hard decision for me to leave corporate because it felt like I was leaving the good for maybe the not great. But you can't see the greatness until you're in it and actually fucking building it. So I think be growth mindset, like learn. I think I could have been richer a lot earlier if I had have learned. Like I said, I seen some of my friends were following Ty Lopez and I was like, bro, I think that's a scam. Like I don't think like you would be doing that because he was so young, had a Lamborghini. For me, that was too far out of reality for me to fathom that was actually real business. Nissan's the largest employer in the northeast of England, and the CEO of Nissan is on like 250k per year.
No shit.
Yeah, bro.
What?
So you've got, imagine that's getting taxed in the UK. Even if you're a business owner now, I sat down with one of my friends yesterday. He's a business owner in the UK. He's an older guy in private equity space, owns a couple of businesses. And he was like, with the corporation tax going up to like 25% and then the dividends increase, he was like, the tax rate is 65%. And then everything has VAT on it as well.
So that's another 20.
You basically just got such a small percentage of your money, and he's a fairly affluent guy. He has a townhouse in a nice place in London. He said he's there with his phone the other day. Someone drives past and a scooter tries to steal it from him.
Jesus.
So you're like you're losing 70% of your money for no safety.
Yeah.
Like the weather's pretty shit most of the time and the people are negative. So I would say mindset is key, but you need to get into a more positive environment. Like I would always, even when I didn't have a huge amount of money, when I was making money from nightclubs and recruitment and stuff like that, I would take that money, I would spend it, I would go on nice weekends away, right? I would give myself a taste of the finer things in life, get around people, talk to people, just kind of feel that higher level of energy. And it wasn't fake it before you make it. It was actually seeing what the potential was, because that was not the norm. And I think when I look at my parents' generation, they didn't have social media. They couldn't see what was going on around. But now for us, we have that, and it is real, and you can do these things. and I'll throw a bit of a curveball here, but I stopped drinking alcohol over 5 years ago, and that has probably been a superpower. One of the single best things and decisions that I made, because when I stopped drinking, I was managing a business, I was going out speaking to clients, had a great personal life, so it wasn't like, oh shit, I hit rock bottom, and I was like, that wasn't my story. But I reflected on the retreat in India. I was like, what are the things that could hold me back? I was like, if I keep drinking alcohol, I'm just going to be tired. I'm not going to be reflecting enough. And I've got a lot of energy, as you can probably tell. If you pour a ton of alcohol into me, I've got even more energy, right? I'm super loving. So I was like, if I reflect now with hindsight, I wouldn't have my business partner. I definitely wouldn't have my wife. I wouldn't have the business that I had if I'd have kept drinking alcohol. And to me, that shit is scary.
It's exactly what we talked about earlier. It's like you have to become a new person that deserves the kind of results that you want. And it's exactly the same, because we touched on the dating as well. My dating brand was never about what's the technique, what's the pickup line. So I was like, become the person that would be with the type of woman that you really want to be, right? So if your wife, for example, great example. Your wife is the Miss Universe Kenya. By the way, we have Miss Universe Ukraine finalist here. I'm not sure where she just went. But what are like some sort of characteristics that a woman like that would look for? Right? Probably successful, probably funny. Would it be someone that just gets shit-faced drunk on a weekend? Probably not.
No.
And I don't drink at all either. I used to drink when I was like 16, 17, 18 in Austria, drinking age of 16. And then it just became boring very, very quickly. And then I got into personal development at age 19. And it was all about like, don't drink, just go out and have fun anyway. So I'm like, okay, I guess. And I never, I've had glasses of wine every now and then, and I'm like, I just don't feel it. Funny enough, I skip the fun part when I drink, and I go straight to hangover. I have a glass of wine, and I feel like shit. So my body is so used to rich nutrients that when you give it toxins, poisons, it's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, like if someone brings me fried food, like we ordered crispy sea bass, and I thought it was going to be just salt, baked.
It's breaded.
It was breaded. I was like, I'm just not eating that. There's no point.
You feel sluggish. You feel like shit. You're like, that's like, it's actually like you're tapping into an older, lower self of you, and you're like, that's not even me. And the crazy thing is every time I have a cheat day, for example, where I eat chocolate, it was just Easter, I eat Easter eggs. My girlfriend finds, she hides Easter eggs that I have to find, and she's super funny. So I eat that, and I'm like, after that, I feel really good when I eat it, but after that I feel sluggish, unfocused, can't barely fucking work. And I'm like, oh, that's what most people feel like every day. No wonder they can't step up. No wonder they're going to be replaced by AI. No wonder they're looking at social media and saying, oh, everything's a scam. I'll tell you one thing that every skeptics, one thing all skeptics have in common are being poor. They're all poor. So the reason why that is because, exactly like you said, they're missing that one little spark that shows them that something else is possible other than making 200K a year. So just by showing, hey, things are possible. By the way, this guy made it. You should do that too. That person's smarter or better than you. They weren't born rich. So all these skeptics, I even have to sometimes, people comment underneath my videos, they're like, oh yeah, daddy's money. I'm like, no, not at all. My dad was lower middle class, still lower middle class. Now he's retired and we do cool shit every year. But I'm like, that was none of daddy's money. I had to work on that myself. I had to borrow money, but ultimately I made it work by myself. So skeptics just keep themselves in their little bucket. And every time they try to crawl out, their skeptic friends are keeping them poor to trying to drag them back down.
All right, what an epic conversation with Jordan so far. What a G this guy is. And I want to give a quick interruption here to ask you to drop a comment, drop a 5-star, drop a like wherever you're consuming this podcast here, because it helps me a ton to grow this podcast more and get more awesome guests on. So if you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, give it a 5-star rating. If you're watching this on YouTube, give it a comment. Even if the comment is, Max, you suck. That's fine. It's good for the algorithm. And also drop us a thumbs up thingy. It helps tremendously with this podcast. I'm doing this entirely for free. I don't have any sponsors for this because I don't need to. Maybe I'll have a sponsor at some point if I find a product that I really believe in. But other than that, that's all I'm asking for. Thank you so much. By the way, this podcast has been growing insanely, and I get the honor to talk to so many awesome people. I appreciate the living hell out of you. So thank you for watching, and now let's continue.
You're a mission-driven person, I could tell. You're a person that is driven by the growth, by kind of trying to fulfill what's possible, trying to find the limits of it.
Yeah.
But let's talk about money a little bit.
Yeah.
What's the nicest thing that AI money has bought you?
My home.
Where?
Or
The one here?
Yeah, or my dog actually.
Oh.
Yeah, like I suppress a lot of emotions, right? I think most men do. We're like, something's wrong, fuck it, just get on with it. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like that you do need that mindset for a while, because if you're going to be bothered about every little thing, you're just not going to make progress. But I think at a stage, if you suppress so much, you just feel numb inside.
Yeah.
And this is why most super successful people turn to alcohol, drugs, sex. They're all cheating on their wives, right? It's because they've achieved so much, but by numbing everything inside of them, they're now fucking, they're numb. They want to just be human. They want to feel something, right? And I had multiple family members pass away over the last couple of years, and I didn't cry, right?
Oh,
I didn't shed a tear. And some of them weren't as close, some of them were. My puppy got sick on one Sunday, and I was crying. And I was like, man, like, because it was that unconditional love with a dog. And now, we're building a family here in Dubai. So I would say, a home for me, my wife, and the dog. And we're having a family this year. So all is moving in the right direction. And I actually didn't feel like I could have a family in the UK. I was like, I just don't want to have a family here. So like, you could have given me this money in the UK, and I was still not being comfortable, because it wasn't that conducive environment in terms of family. Like, people talk, oh, Dubai has no culture. Like, that's bullshit. Dubai is for successful people.
Yeah.
And also the culture here with the locals, the religion, like a lot of that's very beautiful, right? There's a huge amount of respect. I think those things have been good. Like, I have a sports car, but like today I was like, I actually don't even want to drive it yet. I was like, we jumped in, we got driven yet, because I was like, I don't want to think about driving. I would rather be chilled. So when I come here, I'm in good flow, not thinking about traffic lights and stuff like that. What I realized is, as I got more money, I wanted less shit, right? I used to walk around these designer stores thinking, wouldn't it be so cool when I could buy this bag or this and that? I'm like, that bag looks fucking ridiculous, right? The first time I met Aaron, right, my videographer, had like a 50K Rolex watch on, and I wasn't wearing a watch or anything at the time. I didn't mean it aggressively towards him. I was explaining status in terms of like how the industry works. And I was like, see, you're sitting here with a Rolex on, I don't have a Rolex on it. Then he went and sold his Rolex. I didn't actually mean for him to do that. But I think as I made more money, I just seen some things are just so futile, right? That it's just there's no real value in it. And if you think, if your parents got sick, or your wife got sick, or like I said, my puppy got sick, I would have given all the money in the world. I would give my house, my car. I wouldn't give the business away for sure, because I have dependence on that. But I would give away all of my personal income to save my dog's life for an extra 3 years.
Wow.
Like, no fucking question asked. So then how important is the money? It's not. But being the person who can make the money, like, I've grown so much because I needed to grow for business. Like, I think if I had got success easier, I would have not been the man who I am today. And that would have been a disservice for my family and my family to come.
It's crazy. Here's a guy that makes more money than most people can even fathom realistically, and quote unquote, all you want is a house, a wife, kids, and a puppy.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of expectations skewing going on with social media nowadays, with the rented Lambos, the rented private jets, that a lot of the teenagers I talk to right now, the 14, 15, 16-year-olds, literally, I'm like, what do you want to do? And they all say, I want to have a six-pack, I want to have a Lambo, and I want to be rich. And I'm like, what about family, girlfriend, health for your parents? And I was exactly the same. Until I had all these things. And then I'm like, that's cool, but I want to spend more time with my dad.
Yeah.
I want to spend more time with my mom. I want to buy nice things for other people.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy. Like, I want, like, one of the best days of my life. I have this concept called peak experiences, where I'm like certain things are peak experiences. And one of my peak experiences was I was in Thailand with my girlfriend, and there was a gibbon rehabilitation center. Gibbon are like these monkeys, and they took the gibbons and they rehabilitated them and then let them back into the wilderness. And I'm like, can I donate something? And they're like, sure. How much you want to donate? And I'm like, 5,000. They're like, 5,000 baht. I'm like, no, dollars. And they're like, what? You want to donate 5,000? And the guy was like, yo, like calling all his buddies, because they were all volunteers. They weren't even fucking getting paid for that. And like the whole way home from that rehabilitation center, I was in such bliss. I was like, oh my God, that felt so good. That was the best day of my life. I was almost like drunk off that. And you kind of feel like...
It's a euphoric state.
It's so super euphoric.
Yeah.
And I think more young people need to understand the value of traditional families.
Yeah.
The value of having a wife or a husband or having kids and being a good father or parent to your fucking kids. Like, those things are way more valuable than any materialistic things. And I hope that a lot of these kids that want to have a six-pack and want to be a millionaire, I hope that they get all these things.
So they
just
can
like
realize,
I did,
yeah.
so they realize, oh, that's cool, and now let me focus on the actual thing that's important. Because I think if they don't ever reach that, they're just going to chase that dragon the entire life, and they miss out on the actual things that are important, which is love, family, and so on and so forth.
Or they give up and they start to numb themselves with other shit.
Exactly, which is even worse.
That's the other side of it.
And these things that they're using to numb themselves, they're like emulating the fake things that they want, right? They numb themselves with porn, which emulates having an attractive partner that you're really into. They take drugs because it emulates that euphoria that you get from doing nice things, from growing, from helping other people. They go play video games because it emulates that growth pattern that is underneath, but it just does it on a much shorter timeline, right? It's like you level up like every couple minutes instead of like every couple months or years. Yeah. And that fucks them up big time.
And in real life, it's less tangible. There's not you don't actually unlock the level. Even when you make money, it's you don't get the same like buzz of which these distractions create in your mind.
Maybe there will at some point, like once there's like Neuralink or like audio visual interfaces, you can probably download an app that gives you this. Like you just reach 10% body fat. It's like an XP rate, like you get a boost or something.
Yeah, like I think it comes down to like back to the use or abuse, right? And when I first started to exercise, I first went to a bodybuilding gym, right? Your old school spitting sawdust. Yeah. The guy was he was a professional bodybuilder. He had the gym for like 30 years, and and it was great for me because there was real like men, right? I was like 15, 16, but I was around people who were like 20 to 30, 40, but they were jacked, they were going out, there were loads of them were taking steroids, right? It was like, but for me that was like life. It was opening my eyes to, man, like there's more out here. And the owner of the gym, the pro said, if you train for 6 months consistent, you will always come back to the gym. So he's like, you just need to do that 6 months to make it habit and embedded. And he had the data, he had all the stats of people leaving then coming back. But he's like, if you can't stick 6 months, you'll just drop it. And I would say that it's probably the similar for jiu-jitsu, mixed martial arts, anything that requires effort over a consistent period of time. But I stay in pretty good shape all year round just because I eat healthy and I regularly exercise. The input's there, so that the output's there. But when I'm in my low form, I get more obsessive with like food, gym and stuff because it's like a thing that I can control. And what I recognize is actually when I have had the best six-pack and all of those things, I've actually been very miserable a lot of the time. And something when I first started to get money and could go on more, not peak experiences, but more luxury experiences. If I was somewhere and I was like, say for example, in a 5-7 star hotel here in Dubai, and I was like not in a good place with my wife, it would frustrate me so much because I'm like, I should be happy, I have all these things, I'm still not. So I would much rather be in a shit place happy than like, and I think money does buy happiness to an extent. So like, I'm not sitting here trying to preach saying like I buy designer stuff, I go on experiences, I live in, like my villa has a pool, like I have a personal trainer who comes around, I have a live-in maid. Nice. So I spend, right? And like going back to like, what's your favorite thing? One of the great things at the end of every month, I send money to my family and my wife. Man, like, that's beautiful. And also we put some kids through school, which I want to do more of. But that is probably one of the best things that money can get. But if you think, oh, I'm going to earn this money as a man, and then my wife's going to do everything for me, and I can be this fucking alpha, like that's bullshit, because you'll just attract such low quality women. Yeah. Like my wife, the money is a bonus, it's not the fundamentals.
Yeah.
It's who you are, it's the respect, it's the ownership, it's the responsibility, it's that provider mentality. Because you probably read Dr. David Buss stuff and things like that, evolutionary psychology. What women look for in a man is someone who's going to be a good father, right? So someone who's going to be a good father is not someone who's going off the handle, like getting triggered about anything, going on the drink, being aggressive. That's not a good father. You're just going to attract very troubled women and negative people by that. And there was one chapter in my life where I would say I was not a great person. I started making a little bit of money. It was before the business. It was when I first started making like 50, 60K, right? Started to get a bit arrogant. I got a nice car. And when I look around who was around me that time in life, I had two people. I had a girlfriend at the time and a friend at the time. They may be different people now. They may have grown, they may not. But I would say those were probably, when I was at my worst, I was around the two worst people. Ooh. And when every single one of my romantic relationships has got better, but I think that's just because I've got better.
Wow.
Because I think everything's a reflection on you.
Yeah, you attract who you are. You mentioned earlier that places like the UK are going down. They're on a downhill trajectory. You see a lot of that in places like the Netherlands, Sweden, Germany. What do you think is the reason why the UK is on a downwards trajectory?
I think there's a lot, and I don't think I'm qualified to talk on all of it, to be honest. But I will share my insights because I don't understand enough about macroeconomics to really give an in-depth answer that I would be comfortable in sharing. But there's actually a guy called Gary Economics who started a blow up recently, and he was an Citigroup banker, and now he's become like man of the people, sharing in very simple terms why there's a decline in the economy. And he shared in one of his posts, it's very interesting because I'm conflicting whether I enjoy his content or not. I don't really watch a huge amount of content, but in one part he's saying like basically don't have agency, it's very hard to get rich, which I just don't believe to be true. But he is explaining the actual real challenges and the economics of the why, which is factually true, and he's exposing banks, which is factually true. So I think it's always good for an individual to take responsibility. So like even if we take, and I'm not answering your questions directly now, but I'm going to come back to it, even if you're in a place where the UK, Germany's in bad trouble with the energy and the immigrants and stuff like that, like it's in a really bad place. But you know, when I look at my wife from Kenya, right, there's, you know, UK, you've still got very good chances in comparison if you were born in majority places in Africa into the wrong family, right? Because there's no middle class. So if you look at places like South Africa, Kenya, places all over the world, there's Russia is super rich, and then there's very poor, right? There's no middle class. And that's the way the UK is going, where the middle class is being wiped out, and that's dangerous. So the asset prices are increasing. People who own those assets think, oh, that's good. It's not, because it means the cost of living is raising so much and their ability to earn money is not. So the rich people keep growing at a much more significant rate to the rate of the economy, and the people who are middle class / working class just aren't growing the same. So there's just creates a massive wealth divide. So that's like, if we look at that from a macroeconomics perspective, like that's what's going on. But like, if you look at the government's in shambles, right? The reason why we agreed to, you know, having, because you've got dictatorships, then you've got, you know, which actually in the wrong hands are bad. But if you look at Dubai, you can't say, these
point,
like you get married in Dubai, if you're an Emirati, you get gifted land to build a house on. Right? You get gifts from the king. They look after their own above all else, right? The energy here, if you rent a place, it's 1/10 of the price than if you are to rent the place and you're not a local. So someone who's a king looking after his people really well, you create utopia. But if you get a dictator who wants to rip out the country, sell it to the Chinese, you're going to create a very bad environment. You're going to have civil war, which look at Congo and stuff like that. You're going to create a very unstable environment. But we put up with diplomacy because we believe that to be better than here. But if you look at the UAE compared to the UK. How can you say that that's working? It's not.
Yeah.
So I think there's career politicians. You know, most of our leaders went to Eton School. It's an old boys club. They go into it. They sell off the. I won't go into too politically because I don't want to get. I think we're okay to share, but I don't want to go too far down there because I don't think it's valuable, right? It's the government is just not ran well, like full stop. So the taxes just aren't being used effectively. There's no culture / religion anymore. So the family culture is gone. You can be like an alcoholic and a rapist, and like people are just like, oh well, there's no respect for the family name anymore. There's no religion. So if you stop doing that, then there's no meaning in life. There's no true meaning, right? We're seeing more women having to go to work, right? And then they don't want to have kids, so then there's no family, so people have no fucking purpose.
Yeah,
so it's like when you put all of those things together and you've got an island which is now very developed, the rich keep getting, if you look at London, right, the poor just keep getting pushed further and further and further out because the rich can keep buying and buying and buying. So if you're on the right side of the line, like every person who has money in Europe moves to Dubai, Cyprus. Like most of them are in the Middle East. If you don't make too much money, you might go to Bali, right? but they want to escape because they have the mindset and now the ability because you can make money online. That's never happened before. So in Canada, you actually get taxed for leaving Canada. They tax you if you come to Dubai. They'll tax you like exit tax. They're going to try and bring that in the UK.
Forever or one time?
One time, but that's the wrong fucking way to think about it. They should be thinking about how do we attract these people here. So, and then you've got the likes of Brexit, which was a terrible decision. You know, we're in this massive economy. Let's leave this big economy and go by ourselves. Who the fuck thinks that, right? They put it into they put it in the public. The public aren't qualified to vote on something like that. That decision should have been made by the people in power. That's why we have people in power in the fucking first place. So I think there's just so many bad decisions. But Ray Dalio talks about it. You know, it's the rise and fall of great empires, and it was Great Britain at one stage, and I just don't think it's great anymore.
Jordan, that was a much more nuanced answer than you made me think at first. I'm not qualified to that, but boom. What do you think? I talked to a lot of people here that live here in Dubai about where they think Dubai is going to go, is going to head in the next 5, 10, 15 years. What's your take on that?
I think there'll have to be a little bit more like regulation. So it is absolute paradise for the rich, and I think they'll continue to improve those elements. But there is people who are living here without the correct visas and stuff like that. They're doing a massive clearance of that now. So because the level of infrastructure is going to have to improve based on the level of immigration that's coming into the city. But I think the United Arab Emirates in general is going to significantly improve. So I think, and you're seeing this in the big investments, huge investments in Saudi and places like that. I think it's going to open up wider and bigger than Dubai, but it definitely hasn't reached its maturity yet. The level of construction, the houses that are being built, the schools here, and I think you mentioned woke stuff before. I wouldn't want to bring my kids up in a confused environment where there's unisex toilets or transgenders and things like that. I don't think, if people want to do that when they're older, fucking knock yourselves out. But if you're a girl, until you're 18, you're a girl, right? Yeah. That's it. And I think Dubai's still got that very right. Yeah. And I see it being very attractive for people who want to build family. Like there's kids here playing out in the street, right? In the UK, that you can't do that. You go on the beach, you leave your wallet. It's such a nice environment. So I think it's got such higher levels of growth left in it for entrepreneurs and also for people who are younger professionals who want to start a family, because you can, like, if you want to, a lot of people come out here and increase their lifestyle. I did, right? Because I wanted to, and I had the capital to do it. But you can come out here and earn 100 grand a year and live better than you can in the UK. Yeah, you're not going to be staying in an apartment like this or a villa or a penthouse or anything like that, but you're still going to be able to live a high quality life. And with more jobs coming online, with it being easier to make money online than ever before, I think you're just going to see a much higher significant of migration to here. And think about it, right? When you're rich, two things very important to you: safety of money. Dubai has both of those.
Just to touch back on that, I think the problem with wokeness is it's predominantly a problem with parents, usually either a low-value father or the mother trying at all costs to fit into the skewed narrative and virtue signal that we respect everyone. In fact, our kid is trans. And it's very easy to influence your kid as a parent. Or you're a little confused, that's because you're actually a girl, Timmy. Timmy is not going to form his own opinion. It's impossible brain function-wise for a child under a certain age to form their own opinion. So if the parents tell them that, just because they want to fit in, they want a virtue signal at the fucking coffee table with their other woke friends. Oh, actually, Timmy just came out as trans. It hurts the kid. And the crazy thing is, if the kid goes through a phase where it wants to be called whatever, Jenny, that's fine. But the moment you actually alter their body with hormones, with gender reassignment surgery and whatnot, now that you fucking up that kid irreversibly for the rest of their life, they become suicidal, they might become rapists, they might become pedophiles. It's insane. And I see this predominantly with middle-aged white women. For some random reason, they want to fit in, and then they manipulate their husband. And if the husband isn't secure in themselves, their husband isn't, quote unquote, his own man enough, he will just like give in. And now there's two parents fighting at the front against the kid, which is very, very bad. Now, here's the funny thing, okay? I'm going to tell something I never said public. As a kid, I had a phase where I liked to wear a dress. For whatever reason, we had a dress at home, and I'm like, Mom, and it was like in the closet. I'm like, Mom, I want to wear this. She's like, that's a dress. It's for kids. It's for girls. I'm like, I don't care. I want to wear it, right? So she let me wear it, and there's actually a photo of me being super happy in the stupid dress. I was like 5 years old or 4 years old, which is at that age normal to kind of quote unquote experiment with the other gender. And imagine my mother would have been, he's a girl, would have fucked me up. But fortunately, my mom was just like, oh, it's a phase, like if he wants to wear the stupid dress. Because also conversely, imagine she would have freaked out. She's like, this is not for you, the dress, you're a man. So it's like you have to let your kids do their thing without overly interpreting something into either direction.
Now, you've got to let your kids be kids. I think that's it at the end of the day. And my wife and I spoke about this recently in terms of, because in Africa, Kenya, the health awareness is not huge yet in terms of like the food is still like very oily, a lot fried. So I was like, okay, like I want to raise a really like healthy family. And she's like, yeah, but don't be a psychopath because you're a bit of a psycho. I was like, yeah, I am. So I think when I think about life as well, and this has served me well when I think about personal development, it's like what you want the best for your kid. So like, what would you want your like kid to do and feel? And I think there is that, like you said, a balance between being like, just be reasonable. Like that's the thing, like common sense is not common because people are trying to fit in, they do have insecurities, so they start believing and buying into this fucking bullshit, which like you said, damages the kid, right, or the environment which they're in just to fit in or to feel like they're important, significant in some way, and it's actually a reflection on their own insecurities. It's like mad that you've got to have a license to drive a car, but you can have a kid.
True.
Like in school, in my secondary school, it was rated the worst behaved school in the northeast of England. There was a girl who had 3 kids before we left secondary school.
Jesus, how old?
Before 16,
Jesus
so she was like pregnant through, I think first pregnancy was like 13, and
with the same
yeah, probably not. She probably had like 5 baby daddies with 3 kids. And she could have turned her life around, but that is, like, that's been accepted by the family. Okay, 1, that's a like mistake, but 3, like, there's no mentorship, there's no guidance, and I'm 29 now, and it's the first time I feel like I have the right mindset to have a family because I feel like I can not just financially provide, but like you said, provide that level of stability as a man, because shit can go wrong. Like I said to my wife, you know, you can have miscarriage, right? Kids can have difficulties. Like if you're not secure, and if you have a fragile mind, and you have problems like that, and you're not there for your kid, like it's their problem. Like we're there to support whatever the fucking thing happens. Like whatever happens, we need to be solid ourselves. So I think, you know, for me, being a leader of a business, being a leader of a family, sharing content, I think it's I don't think it's fair, and there's probably a better word than fair, but it's unreasonable of us to sit here, share what we think, and then not walk the walk. And as a leader, you have an obligation to do that. And I think the most important job in the world is a job of a parent, full stop. So when I think about the game of business, going full circle here, is if you become better to be better in business, you are going to have more skills, more knowledge, more tenacity, more understanding, more connections, more value to be able to pass on to your family. So why wouldn't you do it? Because the intrinsic value is so much more valuable than, for example, the car and the house and the things like that.
How are you going to make sure, I mean, you know, you might change your mind once you have kids.
Yeah.
How are you going to make sure your kids don't grow up being spoiled brats?
I'm definitely going to take them to do mixed martial arts.
Oh, sick idea.
Yeah, that's something that that's something that I've got into over the last year, and like you said, the level of it keeps you humble, but I think it's compulsory in schools here now. Jiu-jitsu.
No shit.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
Yeah. So the king's daughter, she just won like a jiu-jitsu competitions, and he's seen how much it helped her with the confidence development and really all areas of life. Because if you think we live in a world which is pretty sterile, we don't touch, or you can't do that. You wear jiu-jitsu, you got someone sitting on your head, twisting your arm. It breaks that physical barrier in a very controlled and good way, right? In the most part, there's extremes of everything, but in most part, I think we can all agree that jiu-jitsu is a pretty good thing to do. I think that helps with the physical confidence, tenacity. For me, in terms of the spoiledness, I think that discipline needs to be shared with a child, and you also have to also take them on experiences where they are exposed to environments that aren't luxurious, that are challenging. They can see the other side of the world. I don't think it's something that you can like force or guarantee. I do see it like business, it's a game of probability. So if I do a lot of things right, the likelihood is that the child is going to grow into a man or a woman who's going to be well-rounded and a kind person. Am I going to make mistakes along the way? 100%. But I think if you can do enough of the right things, the kid's got a good chance. Like I think you love, support, kindness, question. Okay, I believe this. Okay, why? Like why do you believe that? Like what for? Like let's work this out together. Like let's break it down. Really get them to start to understand and think. And I believe if me and Stacey, my wife, are short, like I don't think people say, oh, you get your kids to read and then the parents don't read. I'm like, well, why would the kid read? But if the kid can see you reading, learning, doing things, going to the gym, and I think that is what success would look like for me, and that's why I think it's so important for me to be a leader. But if I'm shouting at people on the phone, do fucking this for me, or if I'm not saying thank you to the person who holds the door open or who's cleaning the floors or anything like that. And it was something my dad taught me. He was like, you know, you treat a cleaner exactly the same way as you treat a CEO. And everyone laughs because we'll walk through a gym or a restaurant that we normally go to, and all the cleaners, the people will be, oh, Jordan, because I just engage with people. It doesn't matter if you have money or not. And it was something Tony Robbins mentioned this on a clip that I seen of him. He said, everyone is superior to him in some way because you've had your own life experience. But he's also superior to someone else because he's had a different life experience. So I think that was very interesting, because if you make money, you can see yourself on this like pedestal, but actually there's a huge amount of things that I don't know, I don't understand, I would like to learn more from. There's so much that I've even learned from this conversation with you. So I think if you can help, if you go in with that mindset, your kids are going to pick that up, right? I think if you're and I'm going to learn more on this over the next couple of years for sure, but I think if you stay in good flow as a good person, your kids have got a good chance in following that as well, the best chance, but also they might not. And I think as a parent, you will love unconditionally, but you do need to discipline. Like, I am okay with not being liked by a lot of my team members for us to do the right thing. Like, I'm okay to not be liked in, like you said, public environments. People text me after I met them in an environment being like, oh, do you want to go to this like next thing? I'll be like, oh no, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm okay with not keeping up with the Joneses. Yeah. So I think that's, and my wife is as well. Like, she has no bother about that at all. Yeah, it was one of the things I was very attracted to, because it's very rare you meet such a beautiful person inside and out, and they're not attracted to like the ego and buying things. And some of her friends are with men who are a lot older and a lot richer than I am. And they're having these experiences even bigger than what she is. And at no stage has it been like ever any comparison. So I think comparison is the root of evil, unhappiness, everything. So I think if you can help to embed self-confidence, it goes back to dating techniques, self-confidence, high self-esteem, that ego, that insecurity, those problems, those disappear. And also faith. I think religion, mindfulness, awareness needs to be a part of teachings for everyone.
Where do the values of your wife differ from yours? I reckon there's a lot of overlap, but I reckon there's also some where it's different.
The big one would, I think, be like health. Like that's a big thing. Like, there's in Africa, just gym culture is not there. Like, there's basically no gyms, and the food is, even though it's organic, there's so much like added oil and stuff to it. It's so bad. And like, for as long as I can remember, I've always tried to eat healthy. And then my wife is like super slim as well. So it's like it's actually very funny. But
she never had to deal with it. She was always attractive.
yeah. She was always slim. She doesn't really work out that much. Like, she's blessed to have such great genetics, but she doesn't eat a huge amount. But I think that's one area which has caused some. I wouldn't say it hasn't caused problems, but it's definitely a big difference that I would say in terms of just like lifestyle is like that health, because similar to you, if you healthy mind, healthy body, you feel in good flow, you want to achieve great things. Where if you're not fueling the body properly, if you put the wrong fuel in the car, it's gonna break down. It's the same with the body, and any other health conditions is just exaggerated by obesity and bad food and things like that. So that's definitely one area. And then I would say even though she doesn't, she is religious, right? But she's a Christian, but I would say she has naturally more self-awareness than I do. Wow. So I had to work on my self-awareness, where Stacey, she's very peaceful with herself. She doesn't ever overstretch herself. If she's out, like for one day, she'll want to stay in the house and recharge. So she's very aligned with herself. She never gets sick. So it's like she has a huge amount of personal alignment. And she's not growing a multi-million-dollar business either. So the stress when building a business, like you said, life is very situational, right? Yeah. I could walk out to this today, my ads could blow up, a family member could get sick. Like, there's so many things where I'm in great flow, and now, okay, Jordan's under a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. There could be a legal letter in, right? Legal cases can throw people completely off. So I think maybe if I wasn't doing that, would I be more aligned? But I think if I wasn't doing business, I would just put this energy into somewhere else. So I think I'm always going to want to build and to grow. But with that, you can drive yourself into the ground because you are so burnt out, you're so focused. If the metrics aren't where you want them to be, or you don't feel like you're making progress, you're not doing the right input, you're not getting the right outcome, you can become an unreasonable person. And I think my wife would be like, if I was unreasonable with the kids and was trying to, because a lot of successful people drive the kids the other way. You know, if you're taking your kid into the office at 5 a.m. in the morning, showing them what business is really like, the kid's going to have a significant amount of resentment, right? If you're so disciplined the kid feels like they're in the army, like that's going to cause problems as well. So I think, you know, I'm probably so far on the discipline side with myself. Like, I think that would come into a bit of concern of hers of like, am I going to make the kid a psychopath?
I was going to touch into that as well. What will you do when your daughter or your son comes up to you and says, Daddy, I want to become a business owner?
Oh, I honestly think it's one of the best decisions that anyone can make, and I think I would try to less advise and more just to ask questions.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, I really want to, and it's the same. I've done a lot of mentoring with individuals, like clients, but also like some very, very high level CEOs, but also a lot of people within my business. So I am pretty well versed with helping people to set up business and it to be their thing. But they won't be getting big handouts from me unless it's valid. Like if it is a loan or if it is an investment within the business. But I'll pay for tutors and guidance in a significant way. It's something that Marcus Aurelius talks about a lot in terms of pay for good tutors for your children. Like that's something that I will invest in, both health, business, everything, that like religion. If I can help guide them, I would rather teach than give. I think that's the big thing. I'd rather teach than give. But I also would want them to understand that it's a game of business. Business is not life, right? There's a bank in the UK which during the economic downturn went bankrupt, and
in 2008 or when?
Yeah, in 2008. A lot of people lost a lot of money, and one of the banks office was in the northeast of England, and I know one of the guys, not super close to me, but he was in the same sort of group as when we were in the nightclub scene. His dad committed suicide, right? When the banks, he was the CEO of the bank, right?
Oh.
So he had a ton of, like, very affluent guy, ton of money. So if you get too attached to the business,
your identity is in there.
Your identity is into the success, and you see it as your problem, and there's no other way. So I think for me, and my identity was tied so much with being successful at one stage, and I think as you become more successful, I've been able to like let go of the identity. Without the success, I'm still Jordan. I'm still value to the people around me. I'm still lovable. I can still love others. Just business is a part of it, and we play the game of business to win. So I would want it, and it comes back to teaching, right? They have to understand and learn that for themselves. But I would want to embed those principles as well as tactics, because principles will last you for a lifetime. Tactics are going to be out of date soon. Even a lot of the stuff around AI.
Very true.
If you can understand the principles of AI, the effectiveness, the efficiency, the leverage, the enterprise value, all of the things that are fundamental, not like, because someone could be watching this a year later, right? And the stuff that we spoke about in terms of sales reps is completely outdated, but how we think about attacking, okay, my constraint is sales reps are challenging to manage. There's going to be something else that's challenging to manage that can be, you can use AI or technology to apply and fix that. So I think if you think from a print, and this is why if you look at meditations, one of the best books ever written, Marcus Aurelius, right, the most powerful person in the world. Ray Dalio, most successful hedge fund manager of all time. The book's principles. Marcus Aurelius is basically all of his life principles written in a book. So why do all of the most successful people in the world keep going back down to this? If you look at businesses, the most successful ones have really clear values, principles, and culture embedded into them, because that's the cornerstone of who we are, because we make decisions based on our principles. So you make decisions based off your belief process, and then it's easy, and you need to shift those beliefs if you want different ones. And I think most people just don't even think about what they believe ever, so they don't know what they stand for, who they stand for, and they haven't even explored this part of the business. And it can be scary, right, when you first go through that personal growth and have to admit, man, I don't know shit, I am a bit fucked, I I am negative, I am doing this out of ego, like that's uncomfortable. Most people don't want to cross that line. They're scared of going up to it, but actually on the other side of that is a life worth living. And I think business, if you become a business owner, it's a life worth living.
The introspection part is so much more important. I feel like 99% of people rather numb themselves with short form gratification, cheap dopamine, than spending a weekend by themselves at home in introspection, thinking about what they want out of life, what kind of person they want to be, and how to get there. And that's important as a business owner, but even if you're not going to build a business, just like you said, like, what are your values? If someone listens to that, they don't have their values defined, you're going to attract the wrong partner because you don't know what you want. You're going to attract the wrong business partners, the wrong friends. And you've talked about this earlier, like the number one thing you need to get into if you want to be successful is a different environment that allows you to grow, that allows you to thrive, that allows you to work hard. For you, it was facilitated with your business getting out of the 9-to-5 grind and then eventually also moving out of London or moving out of the UK.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't even get to that step because they don't even realize what's holding them back and where they want to be. That's again like something that we're losing because you have distractions at your fingertips everywhere you go. And I notice it myself, and I'm already pretty much more aware than most people, right? I'm like, when did I start scrolling? Damn it, what happened? But most people don't even realize that. I had an assistant once, personal assistant in Kiev, and she deleted her Instagram, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting, why did you delete your Instagram? And she's like, well, I went to my my statistics and screen time statistics. It turns out I spent on average 6 hours a day scrolling through Instagram. 6 fucking hours. And respect for her to even look that up and realize that. But most people don't even.
And then make a change.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. You see, I wear the Whoop band. I take it off, then I forget to put it on. But you see a lot of people, they kind of understand these things, but they then don't make a change from it. When you speak about awareness, the thing about awareness is actually recognizing that you don't have a fucking clue what's going on. And it's the same thing. You see someone who doesn't have a business. Oh, I don't need business mentorship. I don't need consulting. And yet, okay, well, KPMG are consulting on $1 billion acquisition. Who are they consulting on? Very smart people. And once you realize you don't need to do this journey by yourself, like I'm against this whole monk mode mentality, do it yourself, bullshit. It creates, first of all, if you think about torture, it's isolation, right? They put you in a secluded environment, you can't speak to anyone, you can't connect. As humans, we need that real connection. And I think as technology increases, and if you think about the pornography side, like being able to have like an AI girlfriend, and when the visuals get so good and the feeling, that's going to become, I think it's going to become an epidemic for a lot of young men, because if they aren't someone of value, right, they can't even get a relationship that's at all with anyone, never mind a relationship that they deem to be with an attractive woman. What are they going to default to when they're lonely, when there's this like high level of stimulation here? So with all amazing things that happen within the evolution and development, you can't stop evolution, right? It's scientifically impossible. We're always going to innovate. Okay, well, we stop we stop innovating on I'll go dark here, right? We stop innovating on technology to kill people, right? Okay, well, another country is going to do that. So you even can't stop that, even if you want to, right? At this stage, until like everyone is combined, which is probably never going to happen, definitely not in our lifetime, right? But if you think about it from a evolutionary perspective, we are going to continue to innovate. Things are going to get better. That iPad turns into glasses, then it's in your mind. So like everything just becomes more connected. So the ability to get things quicker becomes more, which is why as a person, if we can build more and more self-resilience, I did this, I was in the sauna a couple of days ago, and I was thinking about desires and going to grab even the water or the phone, clicking on Instagram, whatever it is. And I was like, if I can sit in a sauna for 30 minutes, right, when I really, because after 15 minutes, I don't know about you, but I'm done, right? I'm like, I sat in for 30 minutes, and it was, by the end, I was lying on the floor, right? So it was as cool as possible. I wasn't like chilling, stoic, I was dying. But I was like, if I can do that for 30 minutes and not get out, I can definitely resist grabbing my phone. So I think just even those little things of building that inner resistance, awareness, intentionality goes so far. and recognizing, and this is, a purposeful life is living intentionally. Most of us live on autopilot most of the time, right? 95% of our decisions are made on autopilot. So if someone asks you, do you want a coffee? And you drink coffee, you'll probably say yes. You'll probably order the same coffee as what you always order. So everything is almost on autopilot because we optimize to save calories based on our genetics. But the beautiful life comes from being present and living with intentionality. And it's the same thing in business. If you, the biggest mistake that people make in business is they think, oh, it's this goal and I'm going to do this, I'm going to build a website. And then they get these new insights and they should change a part of it or direction or implement these new insights, and they don't do it because oh, well, I said I was going to do this, so I'm just going to keep on doing this. No, you've got this new set of data. Use this new set of data to optimize what you're doing. And if you look at Elon Musk, how's he managing to run multiple billion-dollar businesses? Is because he goes in and he just focuses on the one biggest problem every single week. So if you can do that to your business and your life, imagine the rate of growth that you're going to get to. And I say in my business, I can work hard, right? Meaning put hours in, put effort in, and not get the outcome. Or I can work less hours and just work on the real right things to get the business to the next level. And people just are not. Like I work with a lot of businesses doing multiple millions of dollars, and the amount of waste, and even in my business, there's still so much waste within the business. And you only realize that when something goes wrong. Like our ads, we had some problems like last week on our ads, and Matt, our CEO, messaged into the leaders channel straight away. I was about to do these 2 meetings, which I cancelled because I needed to fix the ads. Nothing happened for him cancelling the meetings. Why wasn't he working on protecting these ads going down? He's like, so it's even for someone, he's one of the best operators I've ever met, and he's still making that mistake. I'm like, man, imagine what everyone else is doing in the business. Then imagine what most people are just doing in their life who are checked out of their job. There's actually no intentionality, and once you build the intentionality, once you build that drive, once you start adding tenacity in there, consistency, you add some skills in there, I go into most business, if I ever feel like insecure about making money, which thankfully I don't have economic insecurity anymore. I used to have fear of going homeless, which is just stupid. But I just speak to most businesses and I'm like, okay, everyone who works for them is shit. So like if I'm less shit than them, I am going to be fine. And the reality is most people, and this is why I don't like people who preach that it's hard to make money, it is if you don't have any agency. If you don't have any drive, if you don't buy any mentorship, if you don't buy any course, if you don't learn, if AI is popping up and you ignore it, right? If when technology was popping up, personal branding popping up and you ignore it, okay, why are these other people doing it who are successful, right? What are they learning? If you don't understand finance, completely ignoring finance, even if you're not skilled in finance, like I said, I've got no high school degree, no college degree, I'm the most unqualified business owner, right, you could think of. But you've got ChatGPT now. Like you said, you can actually, the deep research tool on there, you can go deep with ChatGPT from a mentorship perspective. Okay, be me mentor, ask me how I understand me values. Okay, well, I'm thinking this, what about that? That will just go back and forth with you all the time. We've never had an easier access to make a ton of money in a very good way. I think that's the great thing about this. There's a net positive of this because we have to do less shit stuff and we can all work on more creative things. And based on my awareness and understanding, if you can work on things that you, like for me, being creative is not painting a picture. I would be bored as fuck. For me, it's like building a business. That's my creative outlet, is the build. But if you can move into that creative space, that creative energy, then you're going to live a very fulfilled life. I think that's the highest level is when if you can make money and you feel like you're being creative in your day-to-day, like I don't think that there's much more to life than that from personal well-being, apart from that purpose, like you said, in terms of whether it's family, business, or religion. Like you have to build purpose in your life or you're not going to have purpose. Like people say, oh, I'm not settled. well, yeah, because you're going around, you're sleeping with loads of different women, you haven't built a home, right? You're not connecting with good people, you're not opening up. So let's just say if I don't open up with you, you can tell, so you don't open up with me.
Yeah.
Like if you're sharing deep shit and then I'm just like pretending I've got all my shit together, I'm perfect, then you're just gonna pull back. But if we lean into the conversation, we both share, then there's a fucking real connection there.
That creativity that you mentioned that's really fulfilling, that's actually very high on the energy scale of Frederick Dodson. Creativity, love, and enlightenment, I believe, are the 3 highest ones. And you literally feel that. And funny enough, it's exactly that transition from I grind, therefore I make a lot of money, to, oh, I grind less and I just focus a much smaller amount of time on the bigger picture tasks. And I see this a lot with some of my advanced clients that are scaling to 100K a month and beyond, because what got them to 100K a month is just grinding, taking more sales calls, right? Because they're doing them themselves usually, opening up more calendar, doing less, spending less time with their girlfriends, and now they cracked the 100K a month. And then you teach them how to use AI, you teach them how to hire a closer, and all of a sudden, I've had this every single time, they freak out. At some point, they all have this freak out moment, whether it's on the weekend or on a holiday. They're like, Max, something bad is gonna happen. And I always ask why. Well, I'm not working, but I'm making all this money. This feels not right. And even I had that at every stage where I worked even less because I don't work 16 hours a day anymore, very rarely, or 12 hours, very rarely. It's usually 2 to 3 hours a day. And during these 2 to 3 hours, I work like very specifically on big picture stuff, needle movers, etc., like you mentioned too. And even I have that, I'm like, I have to do something else. And then weirdly enough, like I do like shitty tasks that like my VA could do, like I'm gonna book my flights now. Yeah. And I'm like, bro, give it to the VA, right? She gets paid like $15 an hour. Why are you doing this? And it's very, very strange. It's such a mind fuck to get to that level and then be cool with it. And then keep growing and say, hey, I'm gonna invest even less time. Will you cut back on business when you have your first child?
I think part of it's mindset. So what I will cut back on is getting triggered. And I know that's not like, it's a bit woo-woo as well. But I know myself when I wouldn't say spiraling, but when I'm getting like annoyed at people are just forcing things. So I think I'll force less, but I don't know if that'll mean less work, but it'll be more intentional work. Like there's some work that I do now where I'm like, I don't really need to do that. That work I'll probably drop, but I think by default I'll want to pick up then other things. So I think it could make me a better business owner because I'll be more intentional with my time. Likelihood is the first couple of weeks, like maybe just from a physical perspective and being there for my wife, but I would say a big portion of my life will still be dedicated to a business, mentorship and growth, because like I said, I have a lot of team members who still rely on me. Yeah. And it's in a less management way, but it's in a more like mentorship approach.
Sick.
And if you like, I read a book recently. It's called Never Enough. It was written by a guy who became a billionaire, and then he had conflict with himself of how do I spend this money? What do? I don't just want to be wasteful. And he spoke to Warren Buffett, and he has the giving pledge, which is basically you give your money over a period of time, so you actually dilute your wealth as you get older, and your shares goes to charities which you deem meaningful, right? It was very interesting because Warren Buffett was available to speak to him that day immediately as soon as Bill Ackman introduced him to. So you've got two titans of business, two investing titans available immediately. Wow. That's very interesting. But Warren Buffett's not picking up a call from many people, but he would pick up a call immediately from someone who's ready to give away billions. And I think once, if I can, and I'm nowhere near that level, right? And will I ever be there? I don't know. I think I can build a really good life with a couple of $100 million, right? You can build a life with way less than that, right? But I do believe that if you can build your life in a way which you are available and you are focused on meaningful things, then it doesn't feel like business, it just feels like play. And and it's interesting because that conflict between moving, you're basically in school you're trained to like do shit, right? And then you go to work and then it's like you get paid for your hours.
Yeah.
So we're programmed to think hard work equals money, and this was a big thing of me. I couldn't get out. I used to pride myself of being the hardest worker in the room. I was so stupid, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, it was helpful to an extent, but it was more harmful than helpful. Once I understood, okay, you can actually be a business owner. It's not about that. It's the decisions that you make. The next level to that is investor. So what I'm looking at now is I'm looking at, okay, how do we deploy this excess capital and also the equity which our business is worth? What else can we be bringing into fold?
Yeah.
There's so much more opportunity once you even grow past the business owner level and start to look at it from an investor perspective. Because if you think about Warren Buffett, there's only a handful of trades that he made, maybe 10 trades, which accounts for most of the success of Berkshire Hathaway. So it's not about doing more, it's about making the right decisions, but spending that time learning and understanding how do I make those right decisions. And that's that becomes the highest level of business. It is less decisions, but the things that you're making decisions on are capital allocation. And this is something that I thought about when I set up my business. I was like, okay, I don't have a lot of money, but I have time, right? Once I bridged out the job. So at the start I had a job, I bought a course to figure out, okay, bought like a 10K coaching thing to be like, okay, how do I learn consulting, right? Because I was like, that fits for me, I'm a professional, I'm going to learn a bit of consulting. So I was like, okay, now I'll put a bit of a structure together of how I can build an offer in a very basic way, sell it, and like I said, the first deal basically replaced a lot of my income, and it was an 18-month contract as well. So I was like, okay, most people have, or what's most people's closes employees, 1 to 3 months max.
Yeah.
An executive maybe 6 to 12.
Yeah.
I had a longer contract than most executives, 18-month contract before a client could get rid of me. So talk about security. You actually have more security service in multiple businesses. Yeah. I'm like, if you can get a job, you can get a gig just delivering services to someone, put a long contract in place, and then get another one to pay you. And now you've one job, one person paying you. Now you have 2 clients, 2 people paying you. This is higher risk, but in everyone's mind, they see security with having a job, and it's just not true. The redundancies that are going to come in these next 12 months are going to shock people to the core. There's actually no higher risk than being in a corporate job at the moment, because they're going to shop. And you've seen that the CEO of Spotify said he's not hiring anyone if they can't prove AI can not do the work. So but they have to prove that AI cannot do it. That's the only way he'll hire someone.
Yeah, same with Elon when he got into Twitter. When he bought it, he was just like 75%. Remember that famous tweet that he did? He's like, okay, you have like 48 hours to send me an email proving that you're worth remaining in the company. If not, you're fired.
It's genius.
Just,
but that's the simplest thing. So he did the same in the government.
Yeah.
It's just send an end of week report. That's very basic. And when we go back to what's the problem in governance, we get tied up in all this corporate nonsense and bullshit. And I think you are seeing people like Jess and Elon Bezos who cut through the noise. And they are savages, right? When you learn about billionaires, they're just more savage than us. That's how they got there. And then over time, yes, they built processes and things like that, but at the start, they were just core savages. They made shit happen, they drove shit forward. And everyone says, oh, 18 players, B team players, like what's the difference? And if you've got to ask the difference, you're so unaware, because you don't have any 18 players if you're asking that question. Because an 18 player just makes shit happen. Like Matt, the guy who we hired, before he even joined us, we just had our Twitter account banned, and no one could get Twitter accounts back at the time, right? Like no one. You couldn't pay for it, anything like that. He'd escalated it so high. We did it with Facebook. We ended up sending like Mark Zuckerberg a cold email, escalating us, because he understood corporate and how to escalate. Because he worked in Amazon. He didn't want the bosses above to know that there was a problem, because they'd get fired. So someone would just go in and just fucking solve it to keep it shut. So before he even started our company, he'd even solved that problem. That is a true 18 player, like resourcefulness and just making shit happen.
Yeah. I have this frequent about once to twice in every 6-month period. B player cleansing. And it's just like you look at the company, you look at the worst employee in each and every field, whether that's in the sales field or it's in the coaching field, and you just fire them.
Yeah.
Now, the way I fire people is I'm always like, hey, look, we're going to move on without you. I usually pay them a severance package, or I tell them, you're going to get paid 2 more months, but you don't have to do anything and you'll find another job. But I noticed that it's like, if you overlook that, your company will just get a certain amount of B players in it, and at some point it tilts. It's almost like the boat starts capsizing. So the crazy thing about B players is something I teach my advanced clients all the time. I'm like, they're just good enough for you to make it hard to fire them. They're like, man, this guy sucks, he made this mistake, okay, I'm gonna fire him tomorrow. And then the next day they did like one nice thing, you're like, oh, but that idea was really good. You know what, I'm gonna give him another week. So they're always just writing the bare fucking minimum. That's the only skill set a B player has, to just write that bare minimum. For whatever reason, they know exactly where that is, and they're making it just hard enough for you as the business owner to not fire them. Whereas A players are people that you don't even notice them. You're like, this guy's never had an issue, has never asked for anything, always hit his KPIs, went above the KPIs, or even better, started innovating with no reason, with no asking, like, what do I get paid if I implement this? And you realize like the amount of, the ratio of time you have to invest in an A player versus the output is so much lower than the time you have to invest in a B player versus the output. And so that's why I'm like, over time sometimes a B player slips in, right? Maybe because you weren't super focused, maybe you had to get the position covered, or you didn't have an HR rep yet that does all that for you. You're just like, yeah, fuck it, that guy would be fine. I'll just get him in. So sometimes B players slip in. So if you have this cleansing, you make sure that the amount of B player, the percentage of B players in your company is always nice and low, so you can keep scaling. Because if you scale on this like shaky base, at some point it's just gonna collapse, and then you're in trouble.
Yeah. You're probably a lot kinder than we are. We're a lot more savage. But we made the mistake in our first year. Jacob and I were just too kind to people. We didn't cleanse enough. We didn't performance manage hard enough, and we aren't the people to be doing that. But when we appointed a CEO who's from, his background's General Electric and Amazon, he was on the highest promotion velocity at Amazon, meaning he was basically like top performer, so he's just jumping through the ranks. Once we hired him, he just implemented what Amazon done, and it was just 10 times more savage than what we're doing. So our like talent raiser, we can't hire someone unless they're 50% better than what we've currently got. We've got an internal recruiter now who's from Amazon as well. So you can find a lot of these people in corporate, they're only paid like 50, 60K per year.
Wow, no fucking way.
And they're so much better than from the industry. Like we've hired people from, think of every big brand you can think of. We've hired someone from there who's like 40, they've got all this experience. They're shit. You're much better off hiring younger talent who's highly competent. And there's a guy who built 3 software businesses. The most recent one's Snowflake, which is valued over $1 billion. Can't remember the guy's name, but he wrote a book called like Get It Done or Get Shit Done. He's CEO, so he's brought in by funded businesses to basically scale their software business. He's scaled 3. And he said when they were going through when Silicon Valley boomed, there was a lot of inward investment, there was crazy money being spent on talent. His company didn't have enough money to hire the best talent, right? Because he just didn't have the funds, people could pay more. So he had to figure out, okay, well, I can't just not grow the business and I still need good people, what the fuck am I gonna do? He started hiring on competency over experience. And once I changed that, our business radically changed and the cost for team members went down.
Love it.
So I would always hire on competency over experience, because people who are experienced want to get paid for stuff that they've done in the past. Or like you said, like when people say, oh yeah, I closed this for Hermosi, I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like anyone could probably close for Hermosi because the brand is so big. I want someone who's like worked stacking boxes in Amazon, like who's really been through the shit and who's still not there, because if you get those people in hungry, they will change the business.
Bro, we talked about a lot. And man, I learned a shit ton. And you're fucking cool and a lovely person to hang out with. Last words for you.
Thank you for having me. It's been a good conversation, and it's easy to sit and think, oh, it's okay for these two because they've got the success and that they can risk it and stuff like that. At every level, it feels uncomfortable. Right? People said to me, was the first million the hardest? It wasn't. I was already the person to make the first million. From me going from 400K to over $1 million, that was harder because I needed to level up again, and there was other parts of the business which I didn't know. So I would just say, if anyone out here does want to focus on, you know, building the life, getting to the next level, financially, personally, just focus on just getting to that next level. You don't need step 10 worked out. You don't need level 10, version 10. I say this to our developers as well. They want to go building version 10. I say, fuck that. Just build an MVP, build the first level, because once we've got that out, I know we can get the next one. So just, my mentor always used to say to me, Jordan, if you do the right things will happen. And he said, one day you'll look around, you'll be like, I can't believe I've got all this shit. And it's true.
Beautifully said. Jordan, how can people find you?
Instagram's probably the best way. We've got YouTube as well, but Jordan Lee __ on Instagram, you'll find me on there. I'm pretty active on there. YouTube as well, if you type in Jordan Lee, I should come up. We give away a lot of free business content and stuff like that. I'll share some personal stuff. Try to document more now than create, because there's great things like this happening all the time. But yeah, thank you for having me, brother. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you too, man.
Thank you, bro.
I love having such amazing conversations, especially about the topic of AI. And if you want to build your own AI brand as well and generate high income online and have AI do 90% of the work for you, we can literally set that up together with you. All you have to do is apply via the link down below or apply at maxtornow.com/call. You'll talk directly to my team and I entirely for free. We can tell you exactly how this new system works that allows AI to create your own brand and that allows AI to monetize that for you. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty amazing. We usually quote unquote pitch this at the end of the podcast here, because I know that if you're listening to an entire podcast episode that's around 2 hours long, you're probably very, very bought in to the idea of, you know, becoming your own boss, generating income online, or maybe you are already doing that. So that is why for you specifically, we have this link set up. The link is in the description below, or simply go to maxtornow.com/call. Apply, fill out the application, book a call with us, and then we can tell you exactly how you can use AI to build your own brand. Even if you don't want to show your face, if you want to do this completely faceless, you don't need any experience, you're not going to have to build your own business, but you can generate extremely high levels of income. That's my gift for you as a hopefully avid podcast watcher / listener. Thank you so much. I appreciate the living hell out of you, and talk soon.